All right, so we were talking a little hoops, college basketball. How can we all not forget? Well, maybe some of us could because it happened so long ago. I was 9 years old. 30 years ago, the 1990 UNLV basketball Runnin Rebels won a national championship under Jerry Tarkanian. The MVP of that team was Anderson Hunt. We love him, and he joins us right now on the line. Anderson, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
All right, how you doing, man?
Doing good, Anderson. Good.
Hey, Hunt.
Hunt in the house. All right.
What's up? Who is this? C-Win and that?
Yeah, you know it is. Come on now, Mr. Hunt. Number 12 knows what's going on. The Michigan boys are in the house. Yes.
So, Hunt, my first question for you is this, and by the way, thanks so much for joining us. How are you dealing with the coronavirus? How are you and your family doing, and what are you doing to pass the time?
Well, so far so good. Staying in the house. I guess, binge watching marathon TV, you know what I'm saying, like everybody else, I'm quite sure. And, the kids on the laptops and, the video games. And I don't get any schoolwork in, on the laptop.
Anderson, how would you have handled this as an 18, 19, 20-year-old kid, maybe a college player, or where you were fighting to be an NBA player? How would you have handled something like this as an athlete?
Really, at a younger age, it's hard at a younger age because, you really don't, you have no clue as what's going on, and you young. So you think you're invincible, or you don't think nothing can, slow you down. But this is serious. It's a serious situation going on, and at my age now and at my age then, I still try to be in the house.
Right. Now, you have a lot of friends that have either playing or played in the NBA. The commissioner's talking a little bit about maybe having this horse tournament, maybe having some games played in Las Vegas. What do you make of that? What are your thoughts on that, and do you think it's going to happen?
Oh, say that. I'm sorry, Sam. Say that one more time, man.
That's okay. You have a lot of friends that are in the NBA that have played, that are maybe even in the NBA now. The commissioner's talking about maybe having some games played in Las Vegas. What have you heard about that, and do you think it's going to happen?
I haven't heard nothing, but that sounds great. Vegas is my city, so anything that has anything to do with Vegas, I would love for that to happen.
Have you made any $5 sumo wrestling parlays recently?
I made any $5 what, Chef?
Sumo wrestling. Sumo wrestling is on William Hill. So I'm curious, have you made any weird
table tennis?
I didn't even know you can bet that.
Yeah, so Anderson, here's the deal. Myself, along with probably JD, I haven't seen JD's actual bets, but myself and Brian, we have been partaking in our parlays, whether it's sumo wrestling, also table tennis, and we actually ventured, Anderson, here's the deal, into Nicaraguan soccer yesterday, okay? So we are taking every opportunity, Anderson, to get a chance to get our bets in when we can.
I think there's a word for that. I'm trying to I believe it's degeneracy.
Yeah.
Well,
hey, I wasn't gonna say that because these my homeboys.
Fair enough.
I can appreciate that, Anderson.
Anderson, you're too kind. All right, so let's talk a little bit about one of the main reasons why. By the way, we're glad you're doing healthy and your family's doing healthy. That's great to hear. One of the other reasons, obviously, that I wanted to have you on the show. Can you imagine, Anderson, 30 years ago, the national champions in Las Vegas, you're on top of the world. When somebody tells you that, wow, Anderson, can you believe it's been 30 years? Like, what's your reaction?
Man, my reaction is, I be like, wow, man, time that went by so quick. But it seemed like yesterday, though. A lot of people around this time, last month, really last month, every March, a lot of people come up to me, hey, those was great times. Y'all was one of the greatest teams ever, so... it's great, man, but it's at these times now, man, it's much bigger than basketball. So, it's great to remember all that, man, but I do want to tell all the people down in Vegas to stay in, and, help, solve the problem and don't be a part of the problem.
You're talking about it being bigger than basketball, Anderson. It really was, because you think about that team back in 1990. Were you aware as a player on that squad how much of an impact and how much of icons you guys were? Because look, it wasn't just a thing in Las Vegas. I was a college kid at the time in school in Massachusetts, and everybody was well aware of the Runnin Rebels and Anderson Hunt and Stacey Augmon and Larry Johnson and the impact. I mean, I turned on Boys in the Hood the other day because I'm sitting around, obviously, during the pandemic, and you got, Ricky Baker's girlfriend sporting a UNLV T-shirt in Boys in the Hood.
Really?
You guys were impacted. My question is, were you aware back then of the type of impact that you guys had, not just on Las Vegas, but on American society?
You know what? In your neighborhood where we was from, we knew that. In your city, we knew that. But once you ventured out to another city and seen all the love that we was getting, it was, it was surprising.
Yep.
But, it was crazy because a lot of the inner city guys, a lot of the big city like Chicago, New York, Detroit, Boston, L.A., they gravitated towards us because we was more into the culture. And and we really tried to change basketball, really. We wanted to play on both ends of the court, not just run up 100 points, but we wanted to stop the other guys, too. So we wanted to try to change basketball, and then we wanted people to see that we just wasn't, playing hard. We was playing smart.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, Anderson, if you look at the stats, I mean, you guys were known as the Runnin Rebels, but the last 2 years, I mean, you held opponents to the lowest three-point percentage in all of college basketball. And then no one really talks about how good and how tenacious your defense was back then.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people didn't realize that, man. But I tell people to this day, I said I hated practice because we practiced more on defense than offense. So when the games came around, the games was easy to us. We couldn't wait to see another color of another jersey.
I don't think some people realize this, and we know that team was very close, but you still talk to a lot of guys on that team. I know Larry Johnson is a very close friend of yours. Can you just talk about your relationship over the last 30 years with some of those guys from that championship team and those guys that you still have a good relationship and you still talk to?
Oh, yeah, we still talk once in a while, man. A lot of people try to compare us to Michigan and Georgetown, North Carolina, but I say we different. We love each other and we gelled on the court. But, we don't go on vacations together like we should. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think, all of us is real close. We close to a certain point. Everybody call once in a while, say, hey, how your family doing? How you doing? And things to that nature.
Sure. No, that's understandable.
Me and El still hang out. Moses hangs out. George in town. We still a lot of fellas still in town that hangs out.
That's nice to hear. If you had a chance to speak to the late, great Jerry Tarkanian right now, what would you say to him?
First of all, I tell him to stay in the house. But just thinking back now, man, I'll probably give Talk a hug right now and just tell him, man, you changed college basketball to the good.
So Anderson, it was 30 years to the day this past Friday that the final buzzer rang, and you guys were 1990 national champions. Talk about that moment, right? When the final buzzer went down, you guys absolutely just blitzed the hated Duke Blue Devils in that game. What was that like? With you on the bench there and that celebration? How did that all feel?
Oh, that felt good. It really felt good because we was on the bench celebrating.
Right.
So it felt extra special. You know what I'm saying? We got a chance to really celebrate, and everybody was dancing. It felt good. But a lot of people tell me once we won it, I wish I could have teleported back to the Strip and on campus. They say they shut it down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's true. All right, so if Christian Laettner gave you a call right now and said, would you like to go to lunch, would you accept that invitation?
Oh, yeah, especially if he is paying.
That's a very good, honest answer.
That's actually true.
But has anyone...
Hey, man, I'm going to tell y'all fellas, man, when I did that documentary for why you
I hate Christian Leitner, right? Yep.
Yeah, they cut a lot of that stuff off because I was like, man, I don't have no problem with him. I said he was a great college player. You know what I'm saying? I said I really don't have no problem with him. I don't hate him.
As long as he's not stomping on people that are on the ground, I agree. Is there anybody from that Duke organization that you've talked to, I mean, in the last 30 years that have reached out to you?
Yeah, I talked to Brian Davis. Me and Brian Davis pretty cool.
That's cool. Yeah. Davis is a great player. Great college basketball player.
And actually, was it Brian Davis? Oh no, wasn't Brian Davis. Was Brian Davis best friends with Christian Leitner? Who was the one that was best friends?
He was
with
one
Leitner?
of Leitner's buddies.
I thought it was.
Yeah.
I thought it was Brian Davis.
Yeah, that was one of them. He ain't had too many buddies, but that was one of them.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you left us so many great memories, Anderson. And again, you were the MVP. You were such a vital role. I mean, there were so many great players on that team. You played such a vital role on that team. And thank you for the memories. Before we let you go, Anderson, I want to ask you this. There's a lot of people in this town that look up to you as a hero, and rightfully so. With that being said, we have a lot of listeners right now, and as you've alluded to, these are very difficult times that we're living in right now. So why don't you spread the message to the locals of Las Vegas that want to hear from the legend Anderson Hunt? Talk to the people here in Las Vegas. What is your message to them?
What's up, everybody in Las Vegas, man? This Anderson Hunt, Final Four MVP, 1990, man. I want to tell everybody, man, stay in the house. Only if you have an emergency or you have an extreme emergency, stay in the house because this is very serious, man. We want to get this a solution before it get out of hand. So please stay in the house. I'm begging everybody in Vegas to stay in the house. And on that note, Vegas, I love y'all. And Shep, C-Win, JD, I'm going to see y'all soon.
Yes, sir.
And lunch is on me, and I'll try to bring Christian Leitner along, okay?
No, you can leave Christian Leitner where he at.
Yeah. And we're gonna hold Brian to that, Anderson. As soon as this all opens back up, we're gonna make a run down to Jackson so I can play my caveman Keno, and we can get a couple cold ones and a nice meal out of Brian Shapiro.
I'll tell you, C-Win, you've been much more mentally sound and organized since you haven't had a caveman Keno machine.
Anderson, we love you, man. We love you. Thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to see you soon. Stay safe with you and your family, okay?
All right, thanks, fellas. I love y'all, too, man. Y'all be good.
All right.
Thanks,
you.
Big A.
The legend, the UNLV Rebel legend, Anderson Hunt.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, love Anderson.
And friend of ours.
He is such a nice guy. I cannot say enough about him. He will talk to anybody. Mm-hmm. He will start a conversation with anybody. And he is so friendly. And just such a cool guy, and I love his stories. We didn't really get into this, but he's got some Larry Bird stories.
Top-notch stories.
And he was
the board.
one hell of a college basketball player. You watch his jump shot. The guy jumped 3.5 feet off the ground and then released his shot. He was one of the best athletes you'll see at the college level at his position probably in the last 40 or 50 years.
So we appreciate Anderson taking some time to join us. And by the way, really glad to hear from him that he's doing good and his family's doing good. All right, so our YouTube page was down today. But we still, ladies and gentlemen, we still have hate mail.
Oh, do we?
And much of it is from Pastor Rick Wiles and his cronies.
That's exciting.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Jason Stein, our producer, is going to join us with Rick Wiles' hate mail. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.